For the 13th Sunday in Ordinary Time, we have this very short Introit, Omnes, gentes. We skip ahead a few Psalms as well. We have been singing texts from Psalms 26 and 27 for the past 3 weeks. Now we jump ahead to Psalm 46 and call on all the nations to clap their hands in praise of God. I want to talk a little bit about the mode of this short antiphon. And it is in mode 6, according to the theory of the modes that has been in use in the church since about the 9th century. In this mode, the final note is Fa. You heard us sing this note a lot, especially at the beginning. Omnes, gentes, pláudite, etc. In the traditional system of modes, the second most important note is called the dominant, or it's called the reciting tone as well, the reciting note, because in the psalmody of the divine office, we would recite most of the psalm on the reciting tone and then end on the final. So it creates a sort of tension as you're singing on the reciting tone. You would know that you're not on the final note, and so when you return to the final note, you know you're finished. What's interesting about this antiphon is that it doesn't quite follow this system. And so you can hear the difference between the reciting tone and the tonic. We're going to sing the verse, which uses the reciting tone. In this case, the final note is Fa. The reciting tone is La, up a major third from the final. So listen to the verse and then the first half of the antiphon. And then I'm going to explain what this tells us about the history of this song. Quóniam Dóminus excélsus terríbilis, magnus super omnem terram. So in the verse, Brother Timothy went right up to the reciting tone, Quóniam, and then we recite as much text as we can fit of that verse onto that note. Dominus excélsus terríbilis, before we let the formula take over. So these verses are probably added later on, in some sense, to the antiphon, to extend the amount of time you can sing the introit, to allow the clergy to process in, or the community to process in at the beginning of Mass if you have a large community. But the antiphon is probably very ancient. We don't know exactly when these antiphons were composed. We do know that the earliest manuscripts come from about the year 1000, and all of this that you find in this book, basically, is already complete. This particular introit, because it emphasizes Fa, rather than the reciting tone, seems to have been composed before the theory of the modes had been perfected and articulated. This theory of the modes really is a Greek interpolation. It comes from the Greek theorists. The Romans did not have great music theorists, I'm afraid to say, in the early centuries of the church, whereas the Greek civilization was much more advanced in this area, in part because of the advances of the Muslims. Many Greeks fled Greek-speaking Eastern churches and came to Rome, starting in the 7th century already, but particularly in the 8th century. And if it's the case that they bring with them this modal theory, and this introit doesn't match the theory, it would suggest that the introit was composed before the theory was introduced, which would push us back maybe to the late 7th century, perhaps earlier, which is interesting because it's in the 7th century that St. Gregory the Great lived, and of course the chant is named after him. Most scholars don't think the chant all goes back to him, but if we're in the 7th century, we're getting close. So the idea that it's linked with him in some way isn't so far-fetched. So, once again, we're going to sing the verse for you and then the full antiphon. This is Omnes, gentes. Thank you for watching.